Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Metaworld News. These are going to be news headlines. Sorry, I'm in the headlights. The headlines are in the headlines too, I suppose. Sorry. And week ending the 21st of February, which is actually showing up on our little screen now, although it's kind of overlapping. Well, never mind. Right. Anyway, so that's that. And we'll see you same time. Oh, no, I'm not ready for that yet, are we?
That's a short show.
No. Shock. Yes,
Right,
indeed.
right. Oh gosh. More Pink Floyd.
I
I love it.
wish it was. Okay, indeed. Right. Well, I'm Mal Burns. That's MAL is the first name. BURNS is the second name. You can find me on Twitter. Twitter.com/Mal Burns. MALBURNS. Squashed, no less. No space between them.
No space.
Tut. Yeah. And talking of squashing, we've got another Twitter feed for this show, which is twitter.com/MetaWorldNews. Yep, two words squashed into one, yet again. And between those two, you can find out everything you may need outside this show, so to speak. Links elsewhere, what have you. I am joined, as always, in the studio here by James Outloud. Hello, James.
Oh, hello, Mal. Welcome back to the virtual space. Um, I think I'm doing well. I'm still wearing my mask though, but
Yep,
I've got a new shirt today, which is
yep,
as always, very fun and nice
yeah.
animation on this one. And this again is from a designer we featured before, and
Mm.
I'm pronouncing this as Neo Zero. So I'll put that up on there.
Ah,
Neo Zero store on the at
very cool.
Sansar. So and this is fun. Just some moving colors. Great in the club. In fact, if I let me spin around
Oh,
here,
I've
you
just
see out in the
realised
audience. Look at that guy.
I've just realised I'm seeing name tags on my monitor here as you move in. Okay, it's now. Well, remember the monitor I'm watching is way behind. Okay, the store name has just come up. Okay, all right. Um,
And
does it
that's it.
hurt if somebody comes up and tries pressing all those buttons?
Say what? On my shirt, it would hurt. It
On
would
your
hurt.
shirt, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, very tempting. Lots of buttons to press there. Okay, very good, very good. Right, so let's get down to business. Oh, yes, for everybody's information, James is our videographer too, or our mixer, everything really. He's transmitting my screen to you as needed. He's filming my avatar too, and and the audio, everything really. Fiddling with them buttons out of sight and sound, but making plenty of sight and sound for your delectation.
Quiet
Yeah,
as
that
a
was a good
church,
one, wasn't
quiet as a church mouse.
it? Yes, indeed. Okay, so I gave you the Twitter links. I'll mention them later on as we go along. But basically, some of the links I give you are to websites, and the page we're looking at will not necessarily be the top page of the website. So my Twitter feed has the links so you can click on that will take you all the way direct to the actual page you might need, if you're not satisfied with the summaries I give you here anyway. Okay, so getting started, I'm going to ask James to flick across to my slideshow screen, in fact, at the moment. And this is strictly introducing ourselves with a bit of anecdotal stuff from the web and elsewhere, really. But I was really surprised to realise that Democracy Now, which is, well, it's not a television station, but I mean, it has broadcast every day, 2 or 3 hour long shows sometimes, every day for 25 years. They are now celebrating 25 years. And I've got to say, looking at the lower right, I would not have recognized Amy Goodman. I think that must be the very first show. She looks young, but very innocent looking, really, compared with the experience she's had since. Anyway, I thought that was worth a mention. If you don't know it, it's an absolutely wonderful daily show. You can listen to it as a podcast, or you can watch it, on various streaming services as video too. It's on YouTube, for example. Right. So worthy thing there. Now, moving on to maybe a slightly less worthy thing. And I think I may have to zoom out a bit here. There we are. March the 1st, 2021. It's the International Delete Facebook Day. As you can probably see from the background image, there's a sort of continental shape and a kangaroo. I think we can guess who is behind this International Delete Facebook Day.
Ah,
Yeah, good.
yep.
Our good old Aussie friends. For those of you who don't know, in the course of the week, the God Emperor Zuckerberg told all his minions to damage Apple. He also pulled the plug on news in and out of Australia, and accidentally at the same time pulled the plug on all the Australian government's own sites. Oops. Did not go down too well.
Very
And of
clever.
course, there has been much talk anyway this week about the power of the corporations. Apparently, the issue under attack was something that Google sort of more or less complied with certain, reservations, where Google, Facebook just said no. They're great ones for speaking out about rights and everything else like that, except when they've got to actually do it themselves. And this is very much typical. The other thing that the God Emperor Zuckerberg had to contend with in the week was probably without so much publicity, but with the revelations that for some time now, Facebook has been misrepresenting their statistics. In other words, they're going to advertisers and telling advertisers that if they go on this feed, they're going to be seen by, 10,000 people. Whereas in fact, they only get seen by maybe 2,000 people. But that doesn't matter to the lords at Facebook. They just invent the figures to convince companies to pay for advertising. It's bad enough the way they treat us, but now it is revealed they're treating commerce exactly the same way. No wonder they're raking it in, really. Okay, moving on. What else have I got here in the old picture gallery? Oh, I thought that was a nice quote. Bit mapped, actually. But the technology you use impresses no one. It's the experience you create with it that's everything. Nice little quote, that, I think. Do you not agree?
Indeed.
No comment. Yeah, I was just going to say no comment from James, but he
Right.
does agree. Okay, back to the UK here. This is just interesting. Um, oops, that wasn't right. Right. The UK's failed test and trace system cost 22 billion. God knows how or where. And here's what we could have got instead. We could have had a space mission to Mars, which would only have been 18 billion. And we still have, what is it, 4 billion over. We just wouldn't have a non-working test and trace. So what the hell? We could also have got 40 new hospitals for 18 billion. We could have every school in the country modernised for only 15 billion. And our entire foreign aid budget is 15 billion. So that kind of puts 22 billion on a failed test and trace system. There's nothing to do with the inoculations that are happening now. This is the test and trace thing and the app that didn't work.
Mm.
So, the government managed to waste 22 billion on that. Where they actually spent the 22 billion on their cronies in industry, I don't know. There was another little quote here. In fairness to both Matt Hancock, who's our health secretary, and Boris Johnson, I think you've probably heard of him, at the start of the pandemic, there were a lot of difficult choices to be made pretty quickly, such as where to give a big contract to a friend or to the wife of a friend. Yeah, you
Okay.
get the idea?
I get the idea.
You're right. Okay, this I think was really heartening news. The person who retweeted this, you sit at the top and said, "This is called reading the motherfucking room." Dolly Parton took steps to stop the Tennessee legislature for erecting a statue of her.
Oh, right.
She's humbled by their intention, but she's asked to remove the bill from any and all consideration. Given as what's going in the world, I don't think putting me on a pedestal is appropriate at this time. I hope, though, that somewhere down the road, several years from now, and perhaps after I'm gone, if you still feel I deserve it, then I'm certain I will stand proud in our great capital as grateful Tennessee. And so she's not writing herself off completely. In the meantime, I'll try and do some good work.
Whose
Yeah,
quote is
anyway.
at the top?
I don't know. Somebody retweeted Dolly Parton. Rather
Okay,
than click
okay.
the Dolly Parton one, I simply clipped the comment from the
Because
person
that
up
doesn't
top.
sound like Dolly's language.
No. So it's somebody retweeted Dolly Parton, which is in the frame there.
Yeah.
And this is the retweeting person's
Okay.
thing. But it's harsh language, but I mean, it actually puts it in context.
Oh yeah.
Not too many politicians or celebs do that, really, do they?
No.
Right, and let's see. Let's move down here. I don't think there's anything. Oh yeah, there's one rather interesting thing. This person, the message speaks for itself. Oh, wait, what it done? Just a second. You zoom out of it. Yeah, this is Philip Rosedale. For those of you who don't know the face, there we are. It's just saying, "Hiya Reddit. I'm Philip Rosedale, CEO of High Fidelity. R. Philip Rosedale. Ask me anything on February 23rd, 2021, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time."
Oh, okay.
So he didn't say anything. He just sent a tweet with him holding up a sign.
Well, do you know what Ask Me Anything is?
A bit like the old Bob Dylan thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Ask me anything. I think it's a theme sort of thing they do, isn't it? I don't really follow Reddit that much.
So it's kind of a live question and answer session.
Yeah.
That's done through through Reddit posts.
Yeah. So he'll be there from 11 a.m. on 23rd, which will be Tuesday. Yes, on Tuesday. 11 a.m. It says 3 hours, 11 a.m. Pacific time. So if like me, you're in Europe, it's still manageable. It's actually the same time as the show, isn't it? 7 p.m. Yeah. All right. So join him there. It's very rare to see Philip unshaven. I found the COVID age is catching up with him, I think. Anyway, that was a nice little thing to go with anyway. So away for the pictures now.
I've given up the shaving. I'm done shaving, I'll tell you that.
Oh, so right. So, well, actually, I trimmed the beard during the week.
Right.
I got a little trimmer thing, but I'm not going to take it off.
Nope.
Yeah, so why bother, you know?
That daily shaving when you don't see anybody.
It's like getting dressed, you know. It's just, what's the point if you never go out?
Right. I guess my avatar needs a beard.
Yes, indeed. This avatar needs a beard too, but the only one I found is so it looks horrendously cartoonish, so forget that. So it's a decent one around. Or I can find one to import maybe somewhere. Okay, so to the web links of the week. As I say, this is the week ending the 21st of February, whereas this post is the first of the week, February 15th. This is scarghost.com. Cue the sound. That's not quite the right imitation, is it?
Well, it's up there. I can go with it.
Well, I can't do the wolf. I can bark. See?
All right.
That was me, not the sound effect. Yeah,
yep.
Me, not the sound effect. In fact, if I do it again, I might even get an applause. See? Aren't I a great animal impersonator? Yes,
Indeed.
Yes, indeed. Cue the pussycat. No, wrong sound. Okay. So, yeah, the pussycat's on my screen behind there. So, yeah, well, if you really want. See who keeps us company while we're doing this show. Hello there, buddy. You're going away, are you? Oh, you're back. Make your mind up. You really are a bit of a indecisive creature, aren't you? Yes, you are. Busy talking while I try and find my web tab again. Right, okay. Okay, let's just no more rabbit holing for a while. Anyway, yeah, scarredghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com. And it's posted on Monday, of course, February 15th. So this is actually his look back on the week previous. So whereas I'm going to be giving you links from this week, this particular link is to a site that covers everything from the week before, so to speak. And it's always a good thing to check out on Mondays just to catch up. But possibly looking in there anyway. Um, just as you know, a week goes by that the Fastbook are not in the news in one way or another. They're keeping on working to become a leader in immersive technologies, apparently. Who would have thought? Um, it's also rumored that Facebook are working on a smartwatch of its own. And the new what do I call it? The meeting room you can go to that launch. Oh, well, it's been going a while now, but it's been very popular. Clubhouse or something like that. Some people were in there about a week ago, and they found a tech conversation, and Mark Zuckerberg was actually in there, talking to people. Um, hasn't been seen since, but the following news was apparently that Facebook are going to work on their own version of Clubhouse or whatever it's called. So he was only there to nick it, find out what it was, go away and nick it. Yeah, we know. WebXR, which is the sort of the thing that powers virtual worlds and such like in on the web. There's now WebKit support for it, which is still marked in development. But this WebKit is the engine which Safari and a lot of Mac stuff uses. Now, WebXR on the Mac is not too difficult anyway, but it will now be able to come to iOS users on iPads and the phone because it will work through the Safari browser. So iOS users will finally be able to officially use augmented reality on the web. So that was a nice bit of hearing. Quest Lab ecosystem is kickstarting. Yeah, another Facebook related article is the App Lab, which is different from the App Store. And I'm not entirely sure what the difference is. I think if you've got an app for Oculus that is a bit experimental, you put it in the App Lab. Whereas if it's not experimental and it's approved, you can put it in the web store, something
Yeah, and
like
prior to
that.
that, there was a program called SideLoader, and so you could load things.
SideQuest.
Yep, yep, SideQuest,
Yeah.
and yep.
Yeah, there was a point that was actually mentioned here somewhere. But yeah, I think it loads into SideQuest well, anyway.
Well, it's Oculus taking over that function of non-sanctioned. I mean, is it sanctioned or non-sanctioned? Good question. Because
Yeah.
Facebook's doing it, somehow that App Lab is sanctioned, but they can probably filter out the porn that way.
Yeah. Also, I mean, they're probably just copying Apple in a more public way. I mean, Apple have an app, in fact, on iOS called Test Flight,
Hmm.
and application developers who aren't ready to deploy to the App Store can actually put it on Test Flight, and if you're a member of Test Flight and get the invite, you can
Yeah. Yep.
download the app to test out on your iPad, which but it bypasses the App Store, but it does go through Apple's own Test Flight, pipe, as it
Yep.
were. I had a couple of virtual world things way back when in test flights, although I don't even know whether I've got a modern version of it installed. Okay, Epic Games. Now we looked at this last week anyway. They presented something called Messy Human Creator. It is based on the Unreal Engine. It's a plugin for the Unreal Engine. Incredible avatars. So lifelike, it's unbelievable. It's called the configurator of semi-realistic humans because they aren't 100%, but they're CGI standard of all genders, skin colors, etc. The only problem, and I don't think I mentioned this last week because I didn't cover it, was that it really is a tool for people using the Unreal Engine. When I first saw the post, it sounded like, oh, here's a website where you can make a photorealistic avatar and then export it into all your favorite worlds. No such luck. It is tied at the moment, at least, to the Unreal Engine, it seems. But Somebody actually points out here, a realistic meta-human inside Minecraft, mind you, would look ridiculous. But there's so much, the contrast between realism and Lego. Yeah. Um, New AR glasses and various other things he's mentioning here. Sundance, as you can see, scrolling down. I don't know where it ends. It's probably not far now. Ah, there we are. Actually, it's not the longest of his blogs, but a couple of other posts from him coming up. They're mostly their reviews, and they too are, a review post from him is, yeah. What happened there? Okay, a review post from him actually is rather a book length operation. Oh, I don't know what's going on here. Right, okay. So into the main news from itself. This is February 14th, beginning of the week, of course. Here in the UK, we are apparently using VR to improve safety for our largest environmental project yet. Sirius Labs and Align JV will provide VR training on how to operate mobile elevating work equipment. Now, whether this is the largest environmental project yet, I'm not quite sure. But we're in the process of developing eco-friendly high-speed rail, etc., low-carbon transportation, and the HS2 lines in particular. No more, carbon nasty fuel. These things will run on, I don't know, solar or something or other. Good stuff. Anyway, um, it's also that they need to protect the natural environment, leave behind richer, more diverse, and better connected landscapes and wildflower habitats. Um, I don't know whether it ever actually says to exactly what the function. Basically, they're using it for training. They're really talking technical here. They're not really saying what it can actually do for eco friendliness of things. Basically, I just reckon they think adopting VR is a good way to help promote yourself as eco-friendly. More to the point. Okay, talking of promoting yourself, this is another one for the great Sith Lord Zuckerberg or whatever we call him. Billionaires see VR as a way to avoid radical social change. Tech oligarchs are encouraging the creation of virtual worlds as a cheap way to avoid problems in the real one. Could be a point in this. Future virtuality is more than video games. Silicon Valley sees the creation of virtual worlds as the ultimate free market solution to a political problem. In a world of increasing wealth inequality, environmental disaster, and political instability, why not sell everyone a device that whistles away to a virtual world free of pain and suffering? If they can afford your device, I hasten to add. And tech billionaires are not shy about sharing it. They say some people read this the wrong way and react incorrectly to it. The promise of VR is to make the world you wanted. It is not possible on Earth to give everyone all that they will want, and not everyone can have Richard Branson's private island. Well, says Dune creator John Carmack, etc., etc. Yeah, well, an interesting take on various things. There's quite a lot of talk here, and also some, links to Wired stories, although I don't think any of them are really directly related to this article. So read that if you will. The site you want is, of course, wired.com, wired.com. And I have just realized that when I was talking about the UK using VR, etc., the site you wanted there was vrscout.com, vrscout.com. I neglected to mention it. Forgive me, folks, while we were looking at it. Moving on.
It is in the feed.
Virtuality.
Yep.
Sorry?
It is
Yeah.
in the feed, in the Twitter feed.
Oh, yes, indeed it is. Yes, of course, always is. Right, VR film festivals look to inspire fresh new talent for Hollywood. Bit logical, really. If it had been the other way round, Hollywood inspires VR. I don't know whether I'd have featured this, but I mean, and actually, it's, with Sundance and everything else, we're getting used to all this now. But, basically, there are things here, happening in VR. That involve storytelling and things like that, and the traditional cinema, Hollywood, in other words, is actually tending to look at what is going on here. The thing specifically mentioned here is Beyond the Frame Festival, which is Japan's first international VR festival. Um, and it's currently underway. It's a partnership with HTC Vive. Starts to February 12th and goes on to 21st to today, actually. Okay. Well, if you want to read about that and maybe see things like the Scream there, you'll probably recognize the Scream from the real world painting. This is we've shown this in the past, I
Hmm.
know, but this is a 3D extruded virtual reality idea of the same thing. So various things to read there if you're interested in virtual reality as cinema or inspiration for cinema, should I say. Right, okay, you'll find that post at vrscout.com too. So vrscout.com. Moving on. Oh, now this one I mustn't forget to read out because equal entry. Yeah, .com. EQUALENTRY.com. I don't quite know the significance of equal entry, but anyway, is it a bit of off off center interview here, but it's about constructing an accessible social VR environment. And this chap, Pablo Gardenas, has been working on such a thing. So he's interviewed by Thomas Logan here. And they start off by saying they're doing an accessibility virtual reality meetup monthly in Mozilla Hubs and learning and documenting best practices for accessibility. And why 97.81% of the world hasn't tried VR yet? That makes you think. That's in other words, really nobody in the world has used VR yet, whatever we think. Right. They talk about XR Podium, accessible scene. I think all the scenes they mentioned are in Mozilla Hubs. And anyway, um, he talks to creator basically. Well, it's all in English, but Pablo himself is Spanish. Um, as you can see, it's all fairly rudimentary building, but they're more concerned about what the design represents for the users than its aesthetic considerations, should I say. And yeah, all over the place, really. So, and share your thoughts at the end. So, equal entry, this is actually it's easy enough to pronounce, but EQUALENTRY.com. Equal entry being one word, of course. And true tradition of the web doing a squash job. Yeah. Moving on. Now, for those of you who don't remember, there once was a company, and still are for that matter, called JVC. You
Oh
could get
yeah,
their headphones and things all over the place. They invented a videotape. When was that Philips
yeah,
or
VHS, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Japanese
yeah.
Victor
That was
Corporation, right?
that's right. Yeah, yeah. And I've got quite a few things of theirs, nothing particularly new or whatever. But I guess we should consider it a welcome emergence that they're moving into the headset environment. I'm particularly keen on. I never used to, I'm not really a headset-y sort of person, especially when they're quite bulky and stuff. But I am getting more enthusiastic about the new ones coming along, simply because they represent competition to one model, which really seems to be trying to monopolize the planet. So JVC are a name brand, so if they're going to launch a 120-degree field of view XR headset for the enterprise next month, that is not a bad idea. Um, I don't remember if they mention 120-degree field of view, 2,500 by 1,500 pixels, roughly speaking, that is, via to 5.5-inch LCD. Steam VR tracking, it can be a tethered headset. Use any compatible controller, such as Vive or Valve stuff. Um, JVC have been working on it since 2018. In other words, 2 very long years.
Mm.
And yeah, oh yeah, they're moving into examples of things. Bulky or not, that's quite a pretty photo actually. um, what's missing here is even an announcement of the price, um, which is not helpful. They do say it's for the enterprise, so presumably it won't be cheap, but it would still be nice if they had actually given an idea of how much they're actually going to charge for it. There are some enterprise models of these things that are not accessible to the general public user, but there are people out there who can actually afford to buy them and um, use them, and also, of course, use them for reviewing things, which is um, you know quite good. It's like if you've got a professional headset, that allows you to experience something, then you're better enabled to write a good review or bad review, as the case may be, even if the end user doesn't have the same kit. Um, I used to do this with television from virtual worlds. I would load it on a big 4K screen, and to actually watch it, and you would then realize just how crap it was. It had been, wrong proportions, filmed at far too low a resolution. Interfaces showing, I mean, well, that's bad in any resolution, but basically, the thing that always let down a lot of early machinima stuff was the sound, because even on a low resolution film, it's starting to stop you encoding decent surround sound. So when somebody plays it back, they can get a good audio experience, which is far less intensive than downloading 4K videos or whatever. So things like that. I quite like the idea that whoever's writing a review of a virtual experience is probably writing it from the point of view of having the kit, even if you don't. But who knows? Maybe it's just my thought. Okay, moving on. Oh yeah, this is road2vr.com. But not mentioning the websites very well
I
today,
feel
am
like
I?
you did. Yeah.
ROADTOVR.com. I didn't actually. I
Mm,
know I didn't.
mm.
I don't know why. I did the equal entry before, but yeah. Okay, next we're on VR Focus again, so I'll get that out of the way quick. VR Focus, there they are. Right, VRFOCUS.com. And this is all about changing the world with VR. A glance back as media actively changes our lives, and a review of the last 100 years. Gosh, golly, this is going deep, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Except they're not actually reviewing that much, but they are looking back at things and what makes it exciting, visions come true, etc., etc. Um, that doesn't look like an avatar to me, but moving on, moving on. Those do. Or something. No, they're not avatars, they're cartoons. And there's just a bloke with a headset, etc., from the retirement home, etc., etc. But interesting little article. Actually, a rather general article, really, when you consider it from a specialist site like VR Focus. But there you go, worthy of a read. Now, I didn't I didn't mention at the beginning of the show that I mentioned that if there's any theme running around this week, it has to do with money, be it virtual currencies or um, sort of companies making money, as well as in world currencies and things like that. And of course, the God Emperor of Fastbook cleaning up the millions, of course. Billions. No, sorry, trillions. What? Sorry, is it gazillions? I forget. Right, a lot, anyway. So moving on, I don't think this is, no, this isn't the first. There are some on that theme, which is why I mentioned it. Here we're back to the Scar Ghost. So cue the music. Woohoo! Right, Ultraleap Stereo IR review. Use your hands naturally in VR. Ultraleap, of course, is the new successor to Magic Leap, which I was always very fond of. I suspect I will endeavour to get this thing, assuming I can use it with my desktop to flip pages and things like that. Anyway, Scar Ghost, of course, always does book length reviews. That's the object, by the way. Obviously, a lot more to it than the original um, um, Magic Leap, which I can't hold up to the screen at the moment, but very different from that. Um, right, it's not an accessory for VR per se, but an evaluation kit. That is, it's a product for all hardware, etc. The idea is it can be used and implemented, of course, in hardware. So whereas he that's him there, Scar Ghost. He's wearing a headset, Ultra Leap. No, yeah, I don't know what the headset is, but it's got a universal mount, and then that's the Ultra Leap.
I don't see a picture
And
right now.
oops, no, you can't, can you?
Yeah.
Actually, we can move up and we
That
can
that
see
looks
it
like a
here.
Quest. That's a Quest 2.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. But there's the Ultra Leap, and it's got a harness to hold it. But of course, like Leap Motion, they promote their technology for other people to use. So they like the idea. For example, you buying a new laptop, you open the laptop, and as well as the camera, it has Leap Motion sensors built in. So and originally my Leap Motion that I've got here is a little book thing that looks like a USB stick, and that's all there is to it. Um, and it worked kind of fine, but following this, there wasn't a new Leap Motion. There were lots of devices out that had the Leap Motion, probably a slightly better one than the original one here, built in. And this seems to be the same path they're going with Ultra Leap stereo. I don't know how long. This is 7 minutes of Scar Ghost, and he's not.
Hello, I'm Fanny the Scar Ghost. Today I want to talk with you about this little toy, the Ultra Leap Stereo 170.
Right. Not any, not the best audio, or rather, he's not the easiest to follow. Let's just see the unboxing. Uh,
Wow.
okay. As people like making unboxing videos, I must say they've
Mm-hmm.
got a sort
They
of
do.
charm to them. Actually, moved down here. Um, I just said I can't show you my Leap Motion controller because I'm not on camera, but actually that is one there. He's holding it next to the um, the Ultra Leap 2. And that's interesting. He actually covers a few things that don't change. So there you go. Ultra Leap 2 is a step forward, but not a perfect hand tracking solution, etc. So go to scarghost.com to read that review. SKARREDGHOST.com. And moving on to our next one. And in fact, we're about to move on to the next 5 or 6. No sound effect for this, I'm afraid. We're Voices of VR has really had a bit of a wild week. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 5 episodes in the course of the week. And I think we got them in the right order. No, we haven't, but nearly. Right, 977. It's going to be show number 1,000 before we know it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The changing saying, volumetric storytelling innovations connecting the past to the present with the cycles of racial terror. Heavy stuff here. Voicesofvr.com is where to go for this. VOICESOFVR.com. Voices of VR, all one word, of course. And yeah, a little bit of roundup there of it, but not much to see. But obviously, you can play the audio podcast after you've read what is going with it. And this seems to be unavailable in the UK. So there you are. If I want to know about the fight for equality, apparently I'm going to have to go to America to find out. That seems a bit that seems a bit out of order, really, doesn't it? But never
Mm.
mind. We've got our own equality, and we can fight quite well for it on our own. Thank you, America. Right. So much for that. Home box office up yours. Right, moving on. This is the same site, of course. This one is episode 978. Again, volumetric capture, democratizing volumetric capture with Scatter's depth kit, the history, evolution, and future of accessible volumetric filmmaking. This again is all to do with imaging and stuff like that. Volumetric capture is it's complicated. I don't fully understand it myself, but it's it gives a greater 3D fidelity to um, uh, I suppose normal filmmaking. Obviously, you've got to be working with volumetric capture cameras and stuff like that. Um, and I'm reading ahead there, which I shouldn't while I'm live. There's a little bit to read about it there. I'm not going to read it out, but obviously, the real meat is in the podcast itself. So that is followed by number 979. And this is Nice Nights. It's from an erotic poem to immersive poetry to neuroscience research. Now that sounds like a journey to take, doesn't it?
Hmm,
Erotic poem,
could be.
immersive poetry,
Right.
neuroscience research. Okay, Nights, triple S wave, its sensual experience that's structured around erotic Polish language poem. It uses dance and spatial metaphors in VR to create an immersive poem. Has a background in dance, and they were interested in researching how the immersive experience they created impacts the neuroscience of embodiment, perception, and empathy in collaboration with the University of Social Sciences in Warsaw. And yeah, there you go. You can listen. There's a clip of the project itself, but more importantly, you can listen to the interview with them, the two people, the two main people involved. There's no way I'm going to try and pronounce Luadadolosko and 3D, but there they are, being interviewed. I'm sorry, Eastern Europeans, but I'm not good with your words, your names. Okay. So finally, moving to number 980 again, voicesofvr.com. This is about designing community world building conversations with Beyond the Breakdown. And it was a big theme at Sundance this year, apparently. And yeah, they had a chance to participate in an experience that facilitated collaborative and deliberative processes of world building, and it was called Beyond the Breakdown. Um, from the USC World Building Institute, amongst other things. Yep, there's well, you got a bit of introductory text as you always have, but as with all these things, this is such an, all these are usually excellent podcasts, although even I've got to admit some of them go out on a limb that really I'm not particularly interested in, or rather just don't have time to listen. But anyway, what you need to do, of course, is go in there and listen to it. So that's it for voicesofvr.com, voicesofvr.com. And you've got, what was it, 5 episodes there to play around with. Right, moving on. Right, this is news at a site called Artnet, artnet.com. Now, this is not exactly virtual reality, but and also I'm a bit apprehensive when I read about these things because this is actually a location in the real world in Las Vegas, and who knows when it's actually going to be safe to go to these things. But they're carrying on with their installations anyway, it seems. Meow Wolf has opened an interactive surrealist supermarket in Las Vegas with projects from hundreds of artist collaborators. Now, I just like the idea of this. It's very virtual. It's very virtual world. The concept, even though it's in the real world, you've got an entrance that just looks like almost like a normal supermarket. Um, and but it's actually an installation, a big one at that. And you go in, and at the beginning, again, this is the Amiga Mart in Area 50 in Los Angeles. It looks like a regular supermarket with its things around, bags of crisps and tins of food or whatever. But nothing is what it seems. And they give you an example. If you venture to the store's frosty drinkables section for a cold beverage, you'll actually end up stepping inside the refrigerator, almost as if passing through the wardrobe in Narnia. And you re-emerge in the otherworldly projected desert. Slip behind the lockers in the store's employee break room, and you'll find the futuristic headquarters of Dramcore, the fictional corporate giant that runs the store. Amiga Mart is a subsidiary of the cyber spiritual corporation Dreamwalk. Oh god, I could go on. I think you get the idea. Um, you know, that's not the cold drink cabinet. It's an immersive reality room.
Nice.
I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine somebody walking in here by accident and
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, I'll just have a couple of bottles and whoops." I love it. It's almost like Alice through the Looking Glass, isn't it? And a double helix part in the Area 15. They've got an Area 15 in there, wouldn't they? They would have, wouldn't they? And anyway, Meow Wolf was founded in 2008 and is involved from a scrappy art collective to a multi-million dollar operation. Backed, oddly enough, by Game of Thrones author George R. Martin. So interesting connection there. I wish he'd spent as much time on the final season of Game of Thrones as he has on this. One big disappointment there. He's almost finished his next book in the series apparently, which actually tears apart the televised ending anyway. Yeah, and full of pictures here. Little lady in her leopard skin, and well, actually that's rather a simple room now, but nevertheless, very colourful. Some of this definitely psychedelic. Um, God, look at all this. So, what lies beyond the drinks machine, eh? And okay, back in the shop. Deli meats, they look like famous paintings, right? They're not meat, they're they're paintings. But you can chop off a slice and you get the painting. You see
Mm-hmm.
what's happened there?
Yep.
That's amazing when you say, I don't know how they print it or sort of do it that way, but they've done it. So, I mean, what an epic kind of thing. I would just love to visit that place, to be honest, after lockdown and when it comes to the UK. So I don't have to go on the plane or anything. But anyway, I thought that was well worth mentioning because it's sort of related to what we're all about, immersive environments, even though in this case not virtual. Well, half virtual, I suppose. Right. So you'll find that at news.artnet.com, news.artnet.com. And moving on, back onto the Sundance Film Festival a little bit. Only really, there's enough coverage of this already, but this is Filmmakers Magazine. So, filmmakermagazine.com. FILMMAKERMAGAZINE, but all squashed together as one word. So, filmmakermagazine.com. Virtual natural reality is the narrative VR and new media works in the New Frontier section of Sundance. So there'll be a lot of coverages of the Sundance Festival, which was a few weeks ago now, of course, and wholly online. But this site is going into quite a few more of them. Not the most profusely illustrated review, actually, which is a shame because, half the fun of some of these things when you're reading about them is also to see a picture or something of what it looks like. I'm going to cheat here. I'm just going to quickly, yes, go to the web page. And no, it's just as monotonous in terms of text as it was elsewhere. But anyway, quite a nice article there. So filmmakermagazine.com for that one. And our next post comes from LinkedIn, of all places, which is, and it's Microsoft in that one, was it? Yeah, no, it's Microsoft. How brands can thrive in the direct to avatar economy. Now, I've never heard this phrase before, direct to avatar economy. Direct to virtual or direct to spatial, or I don't know. But anyway, it's got a ring to it, hasn't it? Direct to avatar economy. Newsletter about the future, and the world's next Coco Chanel is probably a 10-year-old girl who's currently designing avatar skins for Roblox. The idea stems from the changing world of fashion and digital identity. Since the invention of the internet and video games, it was only a matter of time until people wanted to play as their favorite characters, to be someone else in digital form, or expand on who they already are as digital avatars. And the cycle goes on and on. Interestingly, the world will embrace the metaverse as a fashion capital well, we're going to have to actually sort out the metaverse,
Hmm.
an actual interconnected metaverse before we can do anything else, I think. Anyway, direct to avatar. This is now known as D2A. And it's an emerging business model selling products directly to avatars or digital identities, bypassing any supply chain management like drop shipping, logistics of how to get a physical product to a consumer's door, etc., etc. Very true, very true. I mean, I don't think I'm going to go into a metaverse supermarket to actually order my real world food, but you get the idea. Streetwear. Obviously, they're focused on fashion brands and stuff here for some reason. Um, um, but I guess LinkedIn is a social sort of site. So, yeah, good article anyway. And obviously, you can go to LinkedIn, sorry, and like it. If you go to twitter.com/malburns, you'll be able to find the same title. You'll be able to find the direct link to the page in question in LinkedIn. Um, Unfortunately, let me just double check this. Um, yeah, it's not follow. Right, it's not at all clear who's actually written this article. Now, I'm sure if you went to LinkedIn and found the member who would have written this, there'd be other ways of doing it, but there's no indication of who it is here. So I think either go to LinkedIn and just put avatar economy or something, or go to my Twitter feed and click through. Okay, now this is I think where we're starting the grouping that had to do with money. We already know that IMV launched, in conjunction with a partnership with Uphold, um, launched their money, their Vcoin thing. We covered this a few weeks ago. Um, this partnership could be a game changer for virtual world currencies. I'm glad they don't say metaverse currencies because we don't have a metaverse yet. Although it's more of a reason to have one, I suppose. Everybody who does this wants to claim the metaverse for their own, and it seems to be. I'm not particularly interested in this. I mean, I know we have in-game currency, even Linden's in Second Life and things, but the idea of these Bitcoiny type, Ethereum, you know, uh, currency stuff is well, I'll probably end up with an accountant. One day when I get round to understanding it. It's like a mobile phone. It's far too small for me to want one, but now I've got one. What the hell? I held out for long enough. Okay, but Vcoin can be converted into a variety of currencies like euros and US dollars. And they've had approval from the US Security Exchanges Commission, etc., etc. So they're moving forward to discuss a new economy. Users creating their own avatars, exploring the 3D environment, socializing, create, trading, play games. And Digital Universe has had its own internal economy. IMView credits, in IMView's case, can be slowly earned or bought directly, but these credits can, until recently, the credits stayed on the IMVU platform, but now, of course, they'll be able to make use of them off platform in what they say is a grey market, side deals where they can cash out and work otherwise. This isn't actually a wholly unusual system. Whether they can sell it to the users in such a big way, I don't know. Um, I know, for example, in the early days of Second Life, some people would actually require you to pay them for virtual goods in PayPal rather than in Linden currency. And they would, they would take your payment and your name. They would then log in World and send you the item you bought. So completely bypass the Linden currency in Second Life. So it's not as though people haven't always found ways around this. I think it's really a matter of how dedicated to a game or a metaverse you are. Whether you instinctively use the platform's currency instead of some other financial avenue that you would normally use on the side, so to speak. Anyway, they are looking at it through IMView's um, point of view, but sort of looking at how much of a game changer it could be. And this site is the fintechtimes.com. So it's FINTECHTIMES.com. That's fintechtimes.com. There you are. That's obviously no spaces in the web. Oh, but that. All right. Okay, moving down my list, and still quite a lot of it, yeah, but not too much. Right. Okay. Tech bullion. Right. Now, this has got bullion in the name, so I think you can guess it's on a similar track. Will virtual reality change how we use social media? Tech bullion is TECHBULLION.com. Tech as in technology and bullion as in gold bars, I guess. Actually, they're not too. Yeah, I think the site would normally be more to do with finance and things, but not necessarily with this article. They're looking at social platforms. Each provide different experiences. For example, popular because you can escape your home while staying safe in pandemic age, etc., etc. Real life can't compete with the freedom VR provides, and that's why millions of people have fallen in love with it as an entertaining option. But a social media platform may not work as well. Companies interested in creating social space inside the VR world may see this growing sector as an opportunity with little competition, but they quickly realize their goals for VR social aren't yet in line with what the consumers are looking for, which is an escape from reality. That's what the consumers are looking for, not the other way around. They go on about personal hygiene and all sorts of problems with social VR. But it is growing. They reckon the cost of headsets is one problem keeping it from becoming mainstream, but that is if you are into the VR that requires a headset, of course. Um, um, with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other thriving platforms, all people need to access the space is to download it from the App Store or even load it into a web page. And of course, a lot of VR can be done that way. And when you look at Mozilla Hubs and things like that, not only can you view it as a web page, but you can also view it in your helmet as a VR space too. So I, one thing I think that also is hinting at on this article is something that anybody who was in Second Life a decade ago or something probably knows as well as any, and that is there's a sudden rush of people in industry and corporate world, have got something to sell to the end user, and they think, right, let's go into Second Life and open up a page in Second Life. Page? Well, whatever you call it. Sim, yeah, no, region, yeah, they do, whatever they're told to call it, but having no idea what they're selling or to whom. They've got a ready-made market, but they don't know how to get people into their virtual store. And what is the point of a virtual store that just has a model of a car in it and then tries to tell you should go to a real-world car showroom and buy the car? It's just the connectivity is not there, and certainly there's nothing social about it. They should have some kind of virtual competition, to win the product or something. That might get people interested, but they never did. Okay, moving on. This is at techbullion.com. TECHBULLION. You could almost say, no, never mind. Right. Right. Back to Forbes.com. And Charlie Fink's regular blog piece, as it were, at Forbes. We've got his video coming up later, but this is the Forbes page. Week in XR. Looking at Mars in 360. Pretty quick off the ball there. A real world metaverse and fashion week in augmented reality. The Perseverance Mars landing was broadcast in 360 in Old Space VR. It's actually that was just one place you could watch it. They just dumped the feed in Old Space. It wasn't particularly unique to Old Space thing. I think every virtual platform I know was having a viewing party for the landing, etc. And uh, it wasn't real because I never seen an avatar jump as well as the guys in NASA did when it
Mm-hmm.
landed. They definitely got their
Very true.
animations down to
Right.
it.
Right.
Definitely got their animations down to a T over there, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But also next, real world. Now, I actually I wanted to stop on this one because I haven't got any other link that I can find that mentioned that this week. But something that is coming to Quest, which of course is one of the God Emperor Zuckerberg's projects, is something called Real World. And it's a mirror image of the world, but in VR. Now, Real World, interestingly, is based on Microsoft's Google Earth. Sorry, it's based. Well, no, sorry. Listen, it's what it says. This is blowing our mind. Real World is based on the Microsoft version
Oh,
of
okay.
Google Earth. It's plastic and changeable, a mirror world. It sounds like they're creating a version without limitations like distance, scale, and gravity. To me, the ability to bring 3D objects, make persistent changes within that instance is a new idea. Well, it's not being. I remember being in a beta testing a mirror world using open source mapping technology of the planet rather than Google or Microsoft's version. Now, it's funny. Before I read the reference to this, I was thinking myself earlier in the week that I actually think for £100 or whatever it is, I would be able to buy myself the Microsoft Flight Simulator because it can't be that hard to fly. Well, it probably would be for me.
It
I
is
don't
hard
know.
to fly.
But I
Yeah.
like the idea. I like going to Google Maps and then going into Street View and things. And from the pictures I've seen, the idea that I can fly across anywhere in the planet, and with all the updates coming online, apparently they updated London just this week, so you can get to a whole load of places in high resolution in London. It sounds like a fun way, almost as good as going into a virtual world. And I could even use a joystick probably. I've actually got a really high tech joystick that I never use for anything because there's too many buttons and I don't know what they do. But I could probably use that to fly a plane, and but you can if you're flying around in the air, you'd have to drop. There's less danger of crashing because you'd have to drop a bit, wouldn't you? Anyway, and there's no gravity. So I was thinking that would be a great idea, but it actually sounds like real world is modelled on the same kind of thing. Um, they I've heard references to it elsewhere. So, this is just one paragraph they put up. Um, a mirror image of this world in VR that's plastic and changeable. This is an amazing twist to the mirror world story. This is why the topic of metaverses is so hot right now. Um, so I'm interested. Would this real world, which would obviously it's coming to the Quest, which means it's a helmet job. Um, will that be Well, I wonder if it would be the same as Microsoft's Earth or Microsoft's version of Google. Oh, God knows what. How can you get Microsoft version of The flight simulator is Microsoft,
Correct.
but the what you see is sort of more like Google Earth. I don't know whether Microsoft have a Google Earth, but anyway, so
Yeah,
real
they've
world
had
basic.
Earth mapping for a long time. They've finally found a
Yeah.
use for it.
So real world is a Microsoft product basically. They just say a version of Google Earth, or it's actually a competitor to Google Earth, I reckon. So obviously this is a Microsoft product that you'll be able to buy and use in the Quest headset, which presumably means you have to buy it through the App Store for uh, the goddamn product. Who knows? Who knows? Let's move on. Move on. So yeah, as I say, a roundup of various things. Fashion collection in AR. Covers AR a lot here too. Um, baby hands in Oculus Quest. Okay, and there we are. And the podcast, video podcast too, which I will get to in a separate address. Okay, so that's Forbes.com, Forbes.com. Moving to another odd sites. definitely money involved here. This is the Coin Telegraph, COINTELEGRAPH.com. And this is worthy of note because I'm not quite, I don't like Decentraland. And the way everything is, firstly, it's impossible to get around in there.
Hmm.
You really need somebody to take you into wherever that performance is going to be or whatever. It looks quite primitive, though it's getting better. But the thing I really don't like about it is that everything you do, really, you're impressed about it being part. This is part of the Ethereum blockchain, and it's relying on these new digital currencies for buying and selling and stuff like that. As I said, there's a money theme coming up all over the place here. But what is significant is that Decentraland is actually one of the first virtual worlds I heard about that was based on this system, other than the early efforts of Philip Rosedale at High Fidelity when it was a 3D world. Um, and it's now its 1 year anniversary, which just shows, time has flown. I mean, in a way, it makes you realize how new all these, Decentraland is a very commonly named word. It's referenced quite a lot in the virtual reality press, etc. And yeah, it's only a year old. If you'd actually gone back to something like Second Life, and it's when it had its first anniversary, and said, "Hey, Second Life's 1 year old today," people would have said, just looked at you and sort of, um, what life? What but complete befuddlement. You still get it actually, but to have actually sort of come this far with their non-fungible tokens and everything else is interesting. Anyway, they're going to have a party. And if you attend, you'll receive a proof of attendance protocol non-fungible token. And you'll get a first look at the White Rabbit, which is an in-game club. Um, don't know where it costs you anything to actually get to it. That goes nowhere. It's just a Twitter screenshot. Um, anyway, this post is not at Decentraland itself. It's at thecointelegraph.com. So COINTELEGRAPH.com. And moving on, um, live from the internet. Here comes audio social media. Very good. Right. Social media has just signed up for audio chat, and we'd love for you to walk them in. It's very true. Clubhouse, which I was mentioning earlier, is the big new thing. This is the one where, one of the first well-known sort of like little ad lib conferences between tech people. It's invite only, so at the beginning, it's quite easy to see. You would have little meetings between top CEOs or stuff like that. And as I said, the God Emperor Zuckerberg was there, but has now actually announced that he's going to make his own version of Clubhouse. What a surprise that is, really. Okay, but they talk about audio. Oh yeah, actually, the beginning here somewhere. Yeah, the introductory. We're in a situation where as a society we're failing because we don't have the right level of social contact with each other. How do we create a good public square? That's Philip Rosedale talking there. This is about a lot more than Philip, of course, but the new version of High Fidelity, of course, is an audio product. And this is actually a very new. This is quite new site too, and it's very interesting. More like social conscience articles and things like this. The site is called newpublic.substack.com. Substack being a bit like a sort of medium site where people can post, articles rather than just a quick blog post. New Public, so NEWPUBLIC.SUBSTACK.com. And as usual, okay, well, if you want to know about virtual voice and voice, online voice, whether it be multi-user voice or one-to-one voice, whatever, there is stuff in here. They actually move into other news like the Australia business. Hang on. Okay, Marina Garcia Vasquez. I don't know how you actually pronounce that. Actually, the name's vaguely familiar. Um, she is, well, I think it's a Marina would be a she, it must be. She's the actual author of that piece. So if you get to newpublic.substack.com and can't find this particular article, looking up her name may help. But then, of course, if you get stuck, you can always go to twitter.com/malbones and find the link and go straight in there. It's the express taxi that goes straight from Twitter to the actual page you need. All thanks to me. Yeah, yeah, indeed. Right, moving on, moving on. Go back on. Yay! Thank you, everybody. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. We need more of this. We do indeed. Thank you very much, everyone. Right, moving on. We're back at the Skull Coast, so that deserves a bit of a howl. Oh God, one of these days I'm gonna get a direct message from him saying, "What the hell is that noise you make when you're talking about my site?" Anyway, Kelly Pang reveals Kura 150 FOV AR glasses expected price and release date. Now, I don't know why. This came up, I think it was yesterday, February 18th, which it wasn't. And I realised after I posted it that I'd also posted exactly the same post earlier in the week, and it came through two copies of the same thing, but with attributed, tagged with the different dates. I don't know what was going on there. It doesn't really matter which one you go to. So one of them, anyway, it ends up at SKARREDGHOST.com. I can say that blindfolded now. So this is the kind of thing I like to see. This is augmented reality, but it's a big field of view. It's the sort of thing you will wear. You can imagine, like you've got your headphones there or a string, definitely glasses kind of thing. And our friend Scargo's got one, right? So he chased her up for an interview, and he's had a good look at them. Okay, this is an hour and 5 minutes.
Hello everyone, from Tony the Scar Ghost. I'm very happy to be here today with Calipan from Kura. Hello.
Right. It's such a shame about his voice because what he writes so damn well and so much of it, but it's a bit of a problem about listening to when he's talking. I don't actually know that those people he interviews are having had more luck either. Anyway, scarredghost.com is what you want for that one. And moving on, this is a blog. It's at blog.dexfin, DEXFIN.com. And I think the fin there is something to do with fintech again, With Victoria VR virtual reality, you will have your own island listed on the blockchain. Now, this, I think I'm safe in saying, is pretty much one of the first things our new birthday boys at Decentraland started doing. So as they celebrate 1 year doing it, it looks like other players are going to start moving in. I think the problem is that are they going to, all these new platforms popping up, are they all going to have their own kind of blockchain? And does it mean that you're still going to end up with the problem of whether it's blockchain or not, sort of having to trade money from one platform into another? And also, I think this is a bit of a nerve, really. The OpenSim mirror world that I was in for a long while, it worked with open source maps of the world, but also you claimed your own. Well, you could sort of claim any property, but the idea was you claimed your own land. In other words, if you got a house in London, you look it up on the map and you rectangle around it, and you claim that patch of the virtual world to be your own. If you share the building with other people, I guess it's first come, first served. Maybe they can buy a warehouse somewhere and hold a party. So the idea was you could connect the two, and that was actually fine. It was too big a project; it never really happened. But what this new generation of people are doing is they're actually selling this virtual land. And I suppose if it's a completely fictional world, then they can say, well, you can buy some land and you create something, and what you create is your own. You actually own the land, or you can actually buy the land with something on it already. But they are charging you in virtual money, of course, for it. And there've been quite a lot of interesting things happening already, I think, with Decentraland, particularly where some virtual land was bought a few months ago and then is resold on the market at some astronomical price. Exactly why people would be buying it, I don't know. I mean, you could vaguely understand if somebody bought Times Square and hung on to it for a few months and then resold it as a huge profit. Because there'd be enterprising people out there who think God owning the virtual Times Square at some point is going to be very valuable. But then they're neglecting to think of the fact that there'll be several other similar models. There'll be Victoria VR here as well as Decentraland. Maybe both of them will have a version of Times Square for sale. So just because you own Times Square and it's your asset that can be proved and it's in Decentraland doesn't mean it's the same as the Times Square that somebody might build in another platform. Um, it's like somebody makes a little house for themselves in Second Life. We're not talking about land ownership there, it's sort of renting server space. But they export that little house and make it available in OpenSim. So you'll find that house not only appears all over the place in Second Life, but you'll find an exported version which is almost identical, available in all sorts of different grids on the OpenSim network, right? So it becomes a commodity that is, you'd think a house was an individual thing, but of course it's not. It's a model, which you can go in and walk around, and it can be copied and re-resed as many times as you want. There may be a fee involved, of course, for each copy that's made and bought, but nevertheless, um, it's not unique. You don't have to go be in Second Life on a particular region to visit that house. It's actually available on a whole load of regions, but more importantly, you don't even need to go Second Life. You can go to OpenSim and find it too. So, I think the idea that you can own virtual things that, you know, um, I can't see that virtual land has that kind of tangible value that would make people want to be buying for it. I think, people want to invest in virtual goods. They're better off with art. It's like traditional art. An artist will make something virtually. Maybe it's a whole build or just some art piece, and they will, having finished, you won't be able to copy it. You'll be able to look at it, and then they'll take it down, and the original will go to one person only, who's paid the highest price or bought it, whatever. And you can then put that on your computer, and you have it offline, and you have a piece of interactive or 3D art, or a location or something, whatever you think of it as, and it will be uniquely yours. It's still electronic, but your computer, your server is the only place you've got it. It's yours. Anyway, moving on because we're rabbit holing here, aren't we? Anyway, this is a basically PR for a Victoria VR. Unlike they want this to be the crypto hub of Europe, and they're based in Prague in the Czech Republic. And they seem to have been doing stuff for quite a while. And they've got a very elaborate white paper. I remember clicking through to this. I'm not going to do it now. It's it's not something I can present on screen, really, usefully. Um, so they kind of know what they're doing. And of course, if they're in the Eastern Bloc, as we would call it, Czechoslovakia, and um, Decentraland, I think, is America. I'm not actually sure, actually, given the accents of some of these people. But anyway, so you'll find this blog, blog.dexfin, dexfin.com. Moving on before I get lost. We're actually in the links that are coming up now are in the other feed. They're in twitter.com/Metaworld News, not the Malbones one. This is a post at hypergoodbusiness.com. It's they have much stuff there these days, and what they do have is either anecdotal way out of date. I threw a whole load of posts from them this week out of the door because they're months out of date, not just out of date. But this is one they did have, the Tranquility Grid and Little Breath, another grid on both OpenSim and on the Hypergrid. Are merging to form one grid. And it's quite interesting. And in my Hypergrid Discord channel this week, there were some questions flying around about how do I go about merging grids and stuff like that. Somebody saying, I've got quite a few grids and I want to make them all into one, and then others, I want to get together with a friend of mine who's got a grid and join up with theirs. And so suddenly it's a thing. But this is just apparently a small sort of business transaction where they're actually going to join up. Right, the joined up grid will be known as Little Breath, I guess, because the way they're doing it is they're offloading the Tranquility grid and they'll be uploading it into Little Breath, via the OAR format. I suspect neither region is particularly big. Some of the private region owners at Tranquility will actually have to get new accounts on Little Breath. But once they've got a new account, they will be able to get their regions transferred from the former Tranquility easily enough. So, anyway, somebody said her birthday falls on the 28th, and it would have been too sad to see the grid down that day. Oh. A Tranquility performer called Cuddles has already moved a Little Breath. Oh, this is really what you call small world, not the metaverse, is it? Anyway, you'll find news about this at hypergridbusiness.com. HYPERGRIDBUSINESS. And okay. Now another app I really liked is a virtual world sort of called Occupy White Walls, and it's one thing only. It's an art community. And I always liked it because you could get a room, you could make it bigger or smaller or whatever. But more importantly, it was you were meant to import pictures and hang them on the wall there as your art gallery. So if you're an artist or a photographer, you can make a whole room or gallery of your own work, and other people could log in to Occupy White Walls and follow the link to to your gallery and walk around your gallery. And then, from the foyer, you can teleport out to other galleries and stuff like that. And I think if you've got a couple of artists who are good friends, you can create doorways between your, so you can teleport from your gallery to your friend's gallery, etc., etc. But all it was an empty room with the facility to alter its size and whatever, and put up paintings or photographs. I think you can also, if you create enough floor space, put in statues and things like that, sculptures. And there's obviously with artworks and stuff, it's not necessarily like a virtual reality screenshots. It is just any work, your home watercolors and what like that. You scan them, you upload them, you create your own gallery. And I always like that because I like looking at art, even if it's on walls, virtual walls. Anyway, art community and feminism, a chat with Rosa Francesca. I'm not really that much about her, but again, the site you want here is actually easy. It's oww.io, so it's oww, right? And then .io, and obviously Occupy White Walls is where you get the OWW from. Kind of interesting sort of thing. It's always nice to have something to stick in Metaworld News. It's fairly closely aligned with the original stuff that might be there, albeit not in OpenSim or any of our old-fashioned platforms. He says, I'm going to kill for that one. Right, okay, moving on. Back to Hypergrid Business. OpenSim hits record high in land area and active users. And basically a report there. OS Grid leading the way as ever. Zeta Worlds is then Counter Earth, then Furry World. Oh, and Discovery Grid is only number 5. Gosh golly. And OpenSim generally hit a new record for monthly users with nearly 40,000 active users now, up from 35.5 last month. So that's woo. Well, I'm rounding up there, but that's what? That's 4,500 new users in a month. By the look of it. That, of course, is across the whole of OpenSim, the whole of the known hypergrid, but actually that would not include the Outworlds grids because they don't have statistics for that. Nearly all activity was on hypergrid-enabled grids, which accounts for 98% of OpenSim's land area and 99% of its active users. TAG, the largest non-hypergrid world, did not report active user numbers. They only report them when they've got new users. You have to be cynical there. When you get a grid that reports its numbers and then suddenly doesn't report it 1 month, you think, wonder why. Outworlds is tracking Dream Grids. They've got a total of 2,787 and 220 were new in January. That's going to Fred Beckhausen, who owns it all. Well, owns the network rather than the world. Okay. And yeah, then you got listings and stuff, and then the thing about the Kitely market, and then the tag grid market, which is another one. Fire and Ice grids. Quite a lot of general open simulator hypergrid kind of news in that article, which makes a change because there's some absolute strange stuff coming out of hypergrid business that has nothing to do with the hypergrid or anything I can make out of. And then my final thing here. This is a YouTube that I posted at the twitter.com Metaverse News site. And forget how long this is. This is an installation called Light by somebody called Duna Grant. Look, there's your name. And the YouTube you need to subscribe to is Gregory Kapler. If you want this, it's a virtual installation by Duna Grant with sound by Kiriko Eka, the Museum of the Metaverse, basically, which is in the Craft Grid on OpenSim. And get along with 1 minute 53. We might as well entertain ourselves for a second or two. Actually, I'm not going to watch it all. You get the idea. The sound is pretty much like that all the way through. I've got it on full volume, but obviously it's sort of moody soundscape there, really. But you can find that, as I say, go to YouTube and look up Gregory Kapler, or indeed that title. Now, that is the end of both Twitter feeds as well. What I haven't done, I forgot to do, is load. Going to load my Slack. It's the easiest ways of doing it, and just reach out for some of the other new videos we've had a week that I thought were worthy of archiving, so to speak. There were actually quite a lot this week, so I'm not going to probably not going to show them all. Whoa. What's the date? Thursday, 6th, Sunday, 14th. That was last week. Right. I probably didn't show them, but there was a F Reality podcast, which was at YouTube, a Between Realities season 4, episode 7, and This Week in XR, which was the Charlie Fink one. All of those are at YouTube, and since I have more recent ones from the same creators, then I'm not going to load those in now. I'm going to start with one we had on Tuesday. Okay, this actually I'm going past this one too. if you look up Scarred Ghost, as in scarredghost.com, that we're looking up all the while, he can have a sound effect on YouTube if he wants. Or maybe not. Scar Ghost, as a user on YouTube, has quite a few things, including some of the stuff he's embedded in his own blogs that we saw a minute ago. Okay, moving on. Strauss Films. This one was quite interesting. Okay. Okay, this is called Identity, Gender, and VR
Here's a
Chat.
quote from a trans white
Right. Again, this is very specific. It's talking about identity and gender. This chap is, I guess, transsexual, something halfway through. I guess he puts on a wig and changes his clothes or something, because the same guy is suddenly a woman, and well, aesthetically so. And then he goes back to looking like that near the end. So he's actually talking about identity and gender, and particularly he's looking at it in VR chat platform. Although I guess when you're in discussions like that, it could often apply to anything from Second Life through to Decentraland, I suppose. The account here is Strauss Films, STRASZFILMS. Remember, this is an account at YouTube, and if you go there, you'll find this. There's no link to this on my Twitter feeds, though. If you're on Discord, on the Metaworld Discord server, which not many people are yet, but I can let you in if you need to, then all these new films that I post in Slack get copied over to that Discord channel for semi-public consumption, shall we say. Anyway, let's put that one aside for a minute. And I'm lost. Okay, so we are. Right, here's a regular one for us. This is the early part of the week showing of Upload VR.
Like have secondary tabs on each of the windows, so you can have like.
So as you can tell, I'm some ways through watching that. Let's get to.
It was nice to see Kyle again. I like
Yeah.
when he hosts the show. He's kind of goofy, but
yeah, it is a good program, and this, of course, is the part of the week. This is the early one in the week, which,
yeah,
of course,
the technology.
you
Yep.
and I are most keen on. Yeah, there is a second one coming up. I probably won't show it you. I'll just tell it's there. Yeah. So the account you want here is Upload VR. Upload spelt normally, and then VR in caps, but all one word. And it's live at Mondays, 1 p.m. Pacific. But it's one of these things. It's probably far easier to just book a notice for when it's up properly, as it were. This one's about 53 minutes, and as James just sort of mentioned, or we both did, this first one of the week is always looking at tech and the interesting stuff that we kind of like, and give you a bit of a flavor.
Studio with a matrix chair. Yeah, right. So our backs don't if we lean back way far. Of course, I'll break my chair and then fall over.
Okay.
Yeah, the obligatory stuff to get going with.
Secondary tabs on each of the windows, so you can have like a nested window with all your communication in one tab, or in one.
Anyway, a good listen to. I can't play it here, obviously. It's all 55 minutes of it. If you're watching it on YouTube, actually, it's quite nice. There's a sort of tagging system along the bottom of it, so you can go. This is where they're talking about Quest getting mouse support. But if you scroll along the timeline, you get to a bit which is will virtual desktop get on the app lab, so you can find the things they're talking about in the show quite easily. And in fact, I'll just scroll there. When you're there too, you'll see that all their chapters have been broken down here too. So these are not the length of the chapters, they are the starting point of the chapter in the whole show, if you see what I mean. So when it's Apple VR worth 3,000, that discussion starts at 35 minutes in. And of course, all you do to get there is go along here. And as you can see, it changes there. I'd like to be able to, I've got to figure out how that is done. If it's not too much work, it'd be fun to do that.
You gonna do it?
I don't know how they've done it, so I have to find out. It would be if there's a way of tagging that quickly as we go along. I don't know. It might be interesting, but yeah, um, yeah. Anyway. So there is another. If you go to that site, you will find there is a more recent one too, which is posted near the end of the week, and that looks at games and things like that. So it's a bit more specific. So I won't load that one to show you. Um, right, Simon Fraser University. What be this? I forget. Oh yes, I know what it is. Boom, 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 boom,
Oh,
boom, boom.
engage.
Right. Okay. Um, these are researchers learning as avatars transform virtual classrooms at Simon Fraser University. The account you need to look up is Simon Fraser University. Gosh golly, space between the two words there. Remember, it's a YouTube account you're searching for here. And yeah, they're basically just talking about what they're doing education-wise. And there's the links that you can carry on through to read more about it. And let's just. Oh, hang on. What? Oh, maybe it was. Sorry, I think that was a very short. It's just moved on to their next thing, which
I
has
think
nothing to
so.
do with what we
Yeah.
were looking at. Yeah, I must have been much shorter than I thought. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is. Yeah. Listen. If you wanna see this, look up Simon Fraser's University. Sort of. Not a great of interest that one, right? Okay. The first metaverse will be a central social hub, according to. Come on. There we go.
There's an idea stuck in the minds of VR enthusiasts who get deep into.
Right. This is a user called Virtual Essays. Two words. Virtual space essays. ESSAYS. And it's a vision of what he, the virtual essayist, thinks the earliest version of the metaverse will be like. That's a bold prediction by any manner of means.
The idea of an interconnected social VR world that connects you, your friends, and even nice strangers you meet to any sort of VR experience you can dream of. Inspired by media like Ready Player One and Sword Art Online, the idea of the metaverse always seems just out of reach of our current day technology. Some would say, like the developers of big screen social application, it's a fantasy that falls flat when the realities of technological limitations, program incompatibility, and real life time constraints are understood. But I think the metaverse is actually a lot closer to becoming a reality, even if it doesn't take the exact form the community has envisioned for it. Rather than a vision of a single creator, I think the metaverse will be a hub for all the scattered social experiences, gaming or otherwise, that VR currently has to offer, and eventually give the average VR user the illusion of a singular, connected multiverse.
Right. Well, it's not that long. It's only about 10 minutes. And I generally tend to agree with just about everything you said there, really. I don't know where it's as simple as he makes it sound. In fact, I know damn well it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is the underlying protocols that just at the moment there's nothing written that allows that compatibility. He's got the dream right. He's got the vision thing right, as it
Right.
were.
Right.
Anyway, Virtual Essays is the account you want there, and it looks like he could use a few more subscribers as well. So there you go. 224 views. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, VR. He's got a thing on level design in VR chat and Star Wars, blah blah. Looks like he's probably quite new at the game there. Anyway, so moving on. This is the Immersive Arts Lab, number 8. first steps towards building the metaverse. A very similar theme here, as you probably gather.
Not yet.
Okay.
Right now.
Are you gonna
I
just
think we're live.
introduce us
We
first?
are
and then-
live now, so
Yes. Hey, babe, we are live already. I love it when we get to that. Okay, Ryan Gill from somewhere called Crucible, Lee Mason, who's a metageist. Weird one. And from Endeavour VR, the lady there is Amy Peck, of course, in conversation about the future of this platform. And I think by this platform, what's happening in the metaverse space, the importance of crypto art and non-fungible token technology, and how the blockchain and open protocols are empowering creators to build and so much more. So the same thing. Now this site is, so the subscriber you want is Future Artists. It's Future Space Artists. Can't really go wrong with that one. Doesn't need spelling, does it? And this is actually 55 minutes, so it's a nice in-depth sort of Zoom call. I can't believe how this chap Lee Mason is so. He could almost be me a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
Got the right colour here, and once upon a time my beard was that colour.
Okay.
Anyway, I saw that and I thought, who's nicked an old photograph of me and done a fake on it?
Oh, funny.
But it isn't actually me. It's somebody called Lee Mason, but it was nevertheless, it was a little bit amusing. And I'm pretty sure if anybody who's known me a long while in real life actually saw this, they might do a double turn.
Oh, funny.
Is this something you recorded 20 years ago? Anyway, interesting thing to listen to there. So you'll find it 55 minutes of it on February 16th, and the account is Future Artists at YouTube. All right, scrolling down again here. Okay, VR Toronto, right. Oh yeah, another good one actually. VRTO. This is a conference called Virtual Reality Toronto actually. So the account you want is VRTO space 2020. It was actually last year, but there was a metaverse report by Pearl Hyacinth, who I know from Second Life for sure. A tour of virtual worlds, and it's quite a long. It's 17 minutes, so she's made quite the presentation out of this, including quotes. You tend to like to have at these things. Right now, I can just about hear this, but I've got it on full volume both in YouTube and in the system. So
So we will not hear it.
yeah, exactly. You would need to have a quiet room to listen to this. It's actually audible to me, so it's not that bad. But obviously, what you're hearing is coming via my mic and routing all over the place. But she does, it's quite a whole little thing talking about VR chat too. I think this is filmed mostly in Second Life or OpenSim, but that's the presentation location rather than the content. Okay, so VR Toronto, VRTO, Virtual Reality Toronto. That's a bit of a handful. VR space Toronto space VRTO space Virtual space Reality, comma space Toronto. Oh, some of these people like to make it fun, don't they? Yeah. Right, moving on. We've got Singularity Watch, and oh, this lady's great. Yeah. Andrea Ayong. I followed this lady on Twitter. So this is series 1, episode 10 of something called Singularity Watch, and you'll find it here, Singularity Watch. Andrea is an architect. She twitters quite a lot too, and I think this is the first connection I made with her as an architect. What's actually interesting here, and this reminds me of a conference the Architects Association had here in London, where Philip Rosedale came back in the Second Life days to talk about virtual architecture and sort of. He had a slideshow full of nice, fancy-looking buildings and stuff, but well, anyway, it was quite good. I ended up questioning him quite a bit rather than a formal questioner, just to make I wanted to know. He'd actually neglected to think of the architects who were actually designing virtual spaces In other words, they saw the virtual world and virtual spaces as like new pavilions for meetings and things like that, but they didn't necessarily have to conform to real world new views. So you do have traditional architects who prototype their buildings in VR and give walkarounds to their clients. That's fine. That's what Philip had focused on with lots of slides of architecture and some of it wholly fictional, done by architectures. But the other side of it is people who see the virtual spaces we're moving into in the future as being a credible place to invent new architectures. Right? For example, if you're going to have a hub where people meet and discuss things, collaborate, who says they've got to sit down? Who says there's got to be gravity? Now ease of use is one thing. Sometimes you want to have familiar metaphors to anchor the strange, if you see what I mean. So you put chairs simply because people know what a chair is and they can sit on one, and everything else, however weird, takes place within the context of a nice seat, like you're in a cinema or theatre or something. But sometimes you don't need those at all. You don't really bother need to make an avatar seat. In some worlds, you don't even have an avatar. So the concept is purely what you see in front of you, the presentations and things like that. And you can design architecture where there is, new inventive ways of showing presentations. You don't just put a slideshow on the back of a traditional stage and pretend you're living in the real world in a theatre or an amphitheatre. That's antique. Yeah. But it is still a very common metaphor in virtual worlds. Um, I like the fact she's got a website here called Ready Hacker One.
Mm-hmm.
HTTP readyhacker1.com and then /SWO10. Anyway, in her summary here, it says architect, simple, right? Not at all. In the ever-changing world, physical and virtual environments merge, and the concept of space evolves to a point where it changes the whole concept of being. We're at crossroads of disciplines, realities, and these interceptions can give birth to something completely new and to new directions. I don't know exactly which way it's going to go with architecture. I don't know if what we call virtual architecture today is going to end up splitting away from traditional architecture and becoming its own field of design, or if the entire field of architecture is going to go in this direction. And there is more at that website, but there's also, of course, plenty to listen to here. I'm not sure which world she's in. It's not an advert for the world.
That looks like Mozilla Hubs, if I were to guess,
You think that?
with
Yeah,
some
actually,
nice Ready Player Me avatars.
I actually think it might be.
Best VR I've ever seen. I'm just addressing it from this point of view. It's traditional storytelling and
Oh God, I'm halfway through. No wonder.
in contrast to that, there's
I have a feeling that.
I'm Ollie, and as always, my co-host.
Oh, Ollie looks a bit like me too. Of a time.
Hi, Kavya.
Hey, Ollie. To be here.
Our guest today is Andrea Ion Kojukaru, a licensed architect, software developer, and co-founder of Numena.
Okay, well, you've got 35 minutes of that. Again, too long to be. I thought they maybe mentioned at the beginning what platform they were on, but they didn't. It must have come later if they did. So anyway, that isn't really the point. The platform. What you want is the content and the talk. And there she
Kind of
is.
looks like
there she is.
Just looking at those avatars more closely with the larger image, they almost look like they might be alt space. The new alt space. Yeah.
Yeah, I get confused because I don't spend enough time in those worlds to find. There's a sort of similarity to all of them, which is what I call deficient in comparison with OpenSim and Second Life, and indeed Sansol or SciSpace. So, yeah, none of it. There's not enough time in the world now for all of us to go to all the worlds. Our modus operandi is the event. Keeping an eye on the events and
Right.
knowing you have the facility on your computer or in your helmet or whatever to get to them. You pick and choose your events, put them in your calendar, and have hope that you can get into them quick. And I must say, I'm attending quite a few things recently, and it really pisses me off that I have to go to Eventbrite or something and register and go through all that. It's not that hard work because it fills in my name when I log in, but I would prefer I could just see something come through on Twitter or something 15 minutes before and then just click, oh, I've got time for that and go. Um, and a few things like that I've had recently, although they haven't been metaverse stuff, oddly enough. Been more to be comic book and art stuff. Anyway, yeah, that's the title screen, by the way. So that is Andrea herself in somewhat more pleasing form than her avatar, I'm afraid I have to say. But never mind, never mind. And that's interesting. Okay, as I said, Singularity Watch, right? I've just noticed there's a sign under this saying unlisted, which means you probably have to know the link to get to it. Right, but I've given you it, so there you go. Okay, on to the very final one here, which I'm missing, of course, the second upload VR file. This week in XR, which really is yesterday's. This is, of course, Robert Fisk again, but not that don't understand that. But Charlie Fink. I'm sorry. This time not at Forbes, but at his podcast. And this is Kathy Hackey. She's well known in the Twitter feeds and other stuff. I don't think I've ever seen her anywhere before. I didn't at all recognize her face when she came on. It took me by surprise for some reason. But anyway, it's obviously you've got Ted Schillerwitz and Charlie Fink there doing their regular, joint interview session with their guest. So you'll find that at This Week in XR. And again, that's the YouTube subscriber account you want. And yeah, it's just This Week in XR, and then it's the date. So this was on the 19th of February, which is what, 2 days ago? Yeah, Friday, I guess. So it's the most recent thing on my list here. Okay, so the most recent thing on my list. Now put the list away. Can I not? Oops. What? Oh, I see what's happened. Right, we're all done. We're all done. You would be pleased to know.
All right.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I liked an article at the beginning that was talking about VR to for dealing with social change, and the way the article was written was really interesting in that the transformation is having people appreciate the assets in VR for themselves, as opposed to enjoying so for example, this desk in front of us,
Yeah.
is that sufficient for me to say, wow, I have this desk that I built and I don't need to get wood and metal and paint and screws and nails? And so is that a direction for the consumer economy for general people? That's I thought that was an interesting idea.
Well, you mean in relation to the architecture thing?
Well, no, I think more I was thinking in terms of commercial goods. And
Right.
so, the acquisition of materials could be translated to virtual worlds,
Yeah.
which would be
Well, yeah.
that would be a great relief on the resources of the planet, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think Second Life is a good example here, though it's only a fraction of people online. It's the biggest or the oldest, more to the point, of it, and still viable of its kind. And the in-world economy has been a very big thing. And, these days, there are more people than ever buying and selling in there. In the early years that I remember being in there a lot, the economy wasn't actually that big. You had meetings and events and things, but a lot of, if you made, 4 walls and put a lid on it, so did a lot of self-decorating. But nowadays, there's a lot of what they call lifestyle-y people in there that probably make up, it's a huge varied demographic, but I think they mostly have this thing in common of wanting to have their houses and decorate them, and a bit like not everybody in the real world builds their own house. They buy or rent one, and then they go to Habitat or buy their furniture and they decorate it. They make it look like what they want. So, and it's the same in somewhere like Second Life. Most people will buy the house and either be on rented land or maybe they'll be paying for their own land, and they will, do their best to decorate and arrange their own land. They won't be people who do the terraforming, let alone building any major structure of their own. They might try building a little bit of things, but normally they'll be on the marketplace buying things. And I was like that for a while because I had time to spare, and I thought, right, well, I want my office to look like the ideal office. I never got as far as making it look very ideal, but I mean, I started along that track, and I had whole walls that were actually displays because I thought, well, I might as well just turn the wall into a media on a prim rather than make another object and just put it on the wall, sort of thing. And I had some virtual cats trotting around. They're mostly my partner's idea, but I mean, nowadays my own avatar is a pussycat. So yeah, and I think there's a comfort thing there. Now, we already know that a lot of people that may be lesser enabled in Second Life and places where it really is an escapism. They can't afford or they can't get to their own yacht. So they want to have their own yacht in a virtual space, and they force themselves into this mental illusion that they're on their yacht, and it's very easy to do if it's well made and compelling and you've got the sea and you can walk, if you're able to maneuver the environment easily, then, you can think I'm on it. And if you've got a friend with you, you can spend half an hour talking and you don't even move. You're just both looking over the side of the railings at the ocean or the beach or something. So, it becomes a substitute for the real world. And ideally, you could have an office in the real world, and most people are increasingly working from home, and they probably continue that way, virus or no virus. You can have the replica of that in a virtual world, or indeed, you can create a replica that in a format that you can deploy in multiple worlds, so that if you want to meet somebody in your office and they're in Decentraland, they meet you in Decentraland. But if they're in Second Life, they meet you there. But the region they go to may be different, but the building they enter, your office, will look identical, whichever platform you're in. And when it comes to the the woman here talking about, different platforms and be able to jump from one to another, I rather suspect that the way it will begin is people wanting to have a presence, not just their own avatar presence, but their own environmental presence. And they will slowly but surely try and make it so that they have that duplicate. Their avatar looks the same on every platform, and their environment looks the same on every platform. But that may be too much work for many people too, although it certainly is simpler than a lot of other avenues of approach. So we don't know. We don't really know how it's going, but yeah, I mean, I was fascinated by the future architect thing because I think it's D.B. Bailey and there was some other architects in Second Life, and the strange the buildings they built were like out of a science fiction, like Space City in the sky, but with like vertical slats and transparencies, and there was no obvious place to sit, even on the floor or anything like that. But the closer you looked at the structures, you could see various vantage points where presumably somebody attending an event there would maybe park themselves in such a way that they could see various things happening. But short of an event actually going on, it was very hard to pinpoint where the things would be happening. Whereas if you come into a room like this, where we've got the news desk, anybody coming in, whether there's anybody else here doing anything or not, it's pretty obvious where the event happens. We sit behind a news desk, we've got a curtain behind us, and we're on a stage. Yep.
Yep.
You don't have to think about the structure of what the event's going to be. But some of these places that, as I said, people like D.B. Bailey did, were very almost abstract. And, it wasn't easy to comprehend how you would experience the events that would be held there. You'd have to wait till an event came along to see it. And it reminds me, in a couple of weeks in Second Life, no, a couple of months, I should say, we have virtual world's best practices in education. And I've been booked to do one of the interviews on Saturday. I think it's the 6th of March, something like that. It's basically one of the educators who's an ex-Thinker Prize award. Um, but I'm rather hoping that they've changed the design since last year.
Nope,
Because,
they haven't.
oh, oh Lord, because not only watching myself and my interviews back last year, but also doing them. That it's a bit like what I was saying. There's loads of these rocks, floating around in space, quite literally, like asteroids. And you have to purchase, and it's all part of one technical region, but you have to put yourself in various positions on these asteroids and look down on another asteroid, which is no bigger or smaller than the rest. So it's hard to know which it is. But one of those asteroids is sort of the stage. But there's actually a little flat bit on it where a person can come with their guests, and there's a little tunnel at the back where you can go and hide. But I mean, apart from that, it just looks like any of the other asteroid bits the audience are hanging out on. And when you go up there, it's very strange because you can sit on these rocks or stand on these rocks or whatever, but there's a gap, open space between them. Where you think, oh, if I walk that way, I'm just going to fall into, open space. Without a Mars module to pick me up. It's a bit disorientating. And, it's I found a lot of people agree with me in the audience that it really wasn't easy. If they could hear me talking and the people I was talking to, that was not the problem. So as an audio experience, it was okay. And they some knew how to use their camera and sort of move camera-wise closer to me. But the whole thing had a very, I don't know, all I can say is uncomfortable feel. It wasn't really conducive to the relaxing sort of vibe, if you want, that one really needed when you're doing an interview. But it's a halfway example to what I mean, because there was certainly no familiarity about that build.
Yep.
And, it almost needed something, just one thing that was familiar to anchor you into, what you're seeing. Maybe a strange shaped chair on each of the asteroids, the meteors or whatever they are, or maybe some kind of window thing, some kind of, it could just be any object. Maybe even a couple of plants of some sort that were growing out of the rocks at the side to indicate decor around the stage area or something. Things that would intelligently make you think, well, this area is for that. It needed to look like a stage, but it needed to display some of the functionalities that implied it as the focal point, which it didn't. So anyway, I'm not going to go on about that. Apparently, you can come and enjoy the mess this year too, according to James here. Yeah. Anyway, and we'll have more on that near the day, of course. Normally I've done 2 interviews there now, but on the Saturday I'm interviewing. It's the 3rd year's Thinker Award winner, whose name I can't Andrew something. I think I can't quite remember.
Andrew Wheeler.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm never sure what's the real name and an avatar name with that lot either. So, but anyway, normally also on the Thursday or the 2 days earlier, I've been doing an interview with the Lindens, but I don't know whether it's going to be able to do that this year, especially as Ebby seems to have gone somewhere. I don't know where, but he doesn't seem to be around on any networks anywhere. Just not posting. And there's always Brett. I mean, I don't see why I can't do an interview with Brett, but it's obviously it's up to the lab where they want to feel somebody or not. But anyway, I'm definitely doing one interview on the Saturday, and yeah, James and I, of course, will be looking around in the background with the filming stuff too. So yeah.
twiddling.
More about that, Neil. Yeah, more about more about twiddling with the
Yep.
knobs. We shall take our knobs to VWP and
That's
fiddle with
right.
them. Yeah, I
Yep.
know. They're in for a treat, aren't they? Okay. I'm looking at the why have I got an error on YouTube? Oh no, I'm still live. Oh, 2 hours, 4 minutes. Why didn't I shut up 5 minutes ago? Then we could. Never mind. Okay. I think that's it for now.
trivial. Yeah.
Yeah, it's trivial. 4 minutes indeed. Yeah, I think we're done for now then. So, time for us to say goodbye, and I will start with him.
And I will end with him.
Right, so I better say goodbye on behalf of both of us. Indeed. And we'll be back again next week with a bit more AR, a bit more MR, a bit more XR, a bit more VR, because we are. Yes, we are indeed.
We're pirates.
We're pirates, yes. Okay, hope you've enjoyed the show, folks. It will be same time, same place next week, barring any unforeseen accidents or whatever. Keep safe, stay indoors, and avoid the plague and everything else. Make it as good a week as you possibly can. And for anybody in the southern states of America, well, Texas in particular, I hope you get your normal weather back. That's a bit of a shocker, isn't it? I shouldn't be laughing, but it is a bit of a shock. You know, there's some parts of the world you just do not expect snow. Anyway, that's it for now. We'll see you next week. Bye.